Hi, I'm Trent Bona, action sports and adventure photographer from Crested Butte, Colorado, and today I'm sitting down with ICCB to talk about my trip to Nicaragua last year. My girlfriend Danica and I wanted to go down to Nicaragua essentially just to explore. We had heard from a lot of people that it was a really fun place to visit and a lot more raw and authentic experience compared to some of its neighbors. So I grabbed my camera and we went and decided to wander around for close to a month. Kind of figured that Nicaragua was a lot less developed, didn't really have the tourism infrastructure, and kind of seemed like more of our destination for a real adventure. I think the grittiness and kind of the overall theme of poverty came through in the work and the way I processed the images. As I was capturing them, I knew the way I wanted to process them, and I knew the general aesthetic that I was looking for. So you see in these images, a lot of them are a bit underexposed, a lot of them have been heavily processed with a lot of contrast, and I thought that was pretty true to form of essentially the vibe that I got while being there and while capturing these images. I think one of the things that stood out the most to me when being in some of the second tier cities, some of the smaller cities such as Granada and Leon especially, was the evidence of over 2 decades of war. Lots of bullet holes, lots of bomb damage, lots of structures that the entire facade still shows the scars of combat but haven't been rebuilt yet, while there's still a very vibrant, peaceful, cultural rich lifestyle going on around it. The buildings serve as a constant reminder of where people have come from. I think my general approach to street photography is to capture the essence of what's going on, what's going on, kind of the feel that I get, the emotion that I get while being in a particular area. This image is from the city center of Leon, Nicaragua, and this is one of my favorite photographs from the trip to kind of break down for people because I think it's really symbolic. What we have in the composition here is a wall that's about 40 to 50 feet tall. There's a mural on the wall, and at the bottom is a young boy between, I'd say the ages of 15 or 20 or so. The mural on the wall is pretty indicative of what you see all over Leon. And those are murals that were put up in the middle of the conflict during the Contra Wars. And essentially the snake represents the CIA. It's actually written in here that is where the snake's coming out of, the CIA there. Essentially oppressing the people, and what the CIA was doing is they were pumping funds into secret military there, the Contra fighters that were essentially wreaking havoc throughout Nicaragua and killing lots of innocent people. The main demographic of people leading the protests and leading the revolt, or essentially the rebellion against these Contra fighters, were young people, were the educated young people in the colleges. And actually just blocks from this mural there was a well-known massacre of a large number of college students by the military. So I think it's a great example of this guy's just hanging out. He's a young guy. He doesn't quite have the same concerns that someone his age would have had 15, 20 years ago. But he's still got a long road ahead of him. He lives in a poor country, and there isn't a lot of infrastructure, and opportunities are limited for young people in Nicaragua. But they're still extremely proud, and they're really happy with where they come from. This is probably my favorite image that I brought home from Nicaragua last spring. This is a fine art print that was actually just recently on display at the Center for the Arts Annex here in Crested Butte. But this door is a pretty good example of what you see in most of the colonial cities in Nicaragua. This was shot in downtown Granada, and essentially this door leads to someone's home. They're all courtyard homes, and all the facades look pretty much the same. It's a concrete wall. Some are colored like this, but obviously in disrepair, and either a wooden door or an iron gate. They all look pretty much the same. There's no disparity between them. But once you have the opportunity to get up into a church steeple or get up on some high ground around one of these cities and actually look down into the grid, you realize that these courtyard homes are pretty elaborate behind these doors. And whereas they all have a pretty bare concrete facade, behind them, one family might have a dirt courtyard with livestock feeding, and they sleep in hammocks right off of the dirt courtyard with not much as far as living aesthetics. Whereas their next door neighbor, who has a facade that looks much the same as theirs, might have a beautiful garden, a vehicle parked in their courtyard, and then an amazing courtyard home around it with tile floors and a beautiful kitchen. And they're living side by side, but essentially it's a way of thwarting thieves. No one knows what the inside of the house looks like from the outside, so it's just not really worth trying.